Tell me why.
We're loading. We're live.
Happy holiday to the Cellercise family. I know it's a holiday season, and chances are many of you are out there doing what we're doing it to get ready for the holidays. So we're not expecting a lot of people here, but I wanted to leave kind of a holiday message with you, as well as share some great questions, a lot more than I'd expected, customer reviews, and answer some questions. So if there's anybody online, please give us a thumbs up. And for the rest of you, you'll be able to watch this as we'll record it for later in the week. So, customer review. Last Monday, I get a phone call from one of our customers. Hopefully she's watching. And she's quite an influence in her neighborhood. And she said, David, somebody ran off with my leg on my Cellerciser. Maybe one of the kids in the neighborhood, but she couldn't find it. And she said, I can't be without my Cellerciser. It's been such an important part of my life. She's been on it for over 11 years, and she's 91 years young. So I really appreciate her calling up and for the influence that she's making in the lives of so many other people. We've had some great calls. I had a person call earlier today who had been originally using a Cellerciser, and she got really fit with it. And then she saw all the advertisements for the bungee cord unit, so she got a bungee cord unit. And she said she just kept feeling weaker and weaker. And then she got on a Cellerciser again, and she said it was bothering her knees, it was bothering her neck, and she said, I realized I didn't have the resistance. And what I had achieved on the Cellerciser, I was now losing on the bungee cord unit. And so she's going back, and she said she's going back to the Cellerciser. And I said, well, we can build and work on those areas to help restore the strength. But the big difference in the Cellerciser is the resistance. We have to have resistance to build up muscle mass and bone density. And if it's too soft or sluggish, we don't have the resistance, and actually can cause the body to compact more because there's nothing to resist it. And one of the advantages of the Cellerciser is we can do a lot of different movements that can focus on many different areas of the body. So let's read some customer reviews, and then we'll answer some questions. If you have some questions, by all means, please write. We've got Justice here, and Liberty is here also, and we're just going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas in a moment. But Francesca writes, we've only had our Cellerciser trampoline for a few weeks, and I'm writing to tell you some exciting changes have already happened. I am postmenopausal woman and have been suffering from ongoing hair loss for the last 4 or 5 years. I've tried everything, vitamins, a prescription for estrogen, exercise, you name it, and I eventually gave up because they didn't work. 2 weeks into the Cellercise program and my hair has stopped falling out. I've made no other changes. The hair falling slowed down in the first few days, and now my hair feels healthier, shinier, and I'm not getting a tub full of hair every time I wash it. Well, we know some people we can share that with. That's good. There are few hairs falling now. There are very few hairs falling now. Yay, Cellercise. I will say too that I see an improvement in other postmenopausal complaints. I have also been suffering much depression after the deaths of my parents some years ago, and I'm happy to say that I'm feeling much better. And she capitalizes much. And that's so important, releasing stress and tension, increasing circulation, feeling happier. That's the Cellerciser can help promote that. I'm smiling at work and singing again. I even started riding my bike just for fun. I'm someone who had trouble getting off the couch, so these are real and meaningful changes for me. I'm surprised they happened so quickly. I can't thank you enough for your enthusiasm about your program. You've got me motivated. Best wishes to you, and best wishes to you too, Francesca, and thank you for sharing. Vanessa writes, I am truly amazed at what my Cellerciser has done for my body in the last 30 days since I actually got motivated enough to use it daily. I added 2-pound hand weights about 10 days ago for a little extra resistance, and I've been experimented briefly with for 2-pound weights. I'm going to comment on that in just a moment. My mom, or my month-old size 10 jeans are baggy on me. Perhaps I will be a size 8 in another month. I'm starting to see a hint of muscle definition in my arms. It is easy now for me to understand why you look the way you do after so many years of Cellercising. I imagine that there will come a day when I will have to limit myself to 10 minutes a day or I will become too thin. But in the meantime, I am usually Cellercising a minimum of 20 minutes a day, often double that. The time just flies by when I crank up the music. Watching my shape change daily, I can only imagine the positive changes going on inside my cells. Vanessa, those are some great comments. I want to caution you, be careful with the weights, because 4 pounds, when you're bouncing with it, it's not 4 pounds. You have not just gravity that you're resisting, you have the forces of acceleration and deceleration. And that leverages the weight right in the back between the scapula, or the shoulder blades. And you want to be careful with that because those can get really tight holding them. So good for you. Thank you for sharing, and keep us posted. Robin writes, wanted to give you my 2-year update on using the Cellerciser. First off, I love it. I'm 30 pounds lighter. I've given away all my exercise equipment because the Cellerciser is all you really need. Anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes a day that I bounce, and I feel great and I look so much better. The added benefit, and I don't understand it, is I feel so happy. Here again, when I'm Cellercising, I feel happy afterwards as well. It's truly addicting. Who doesn't want to feel happy? Money cannot buy happiness. I know, I've tried. This thing is truly something special. Sometimes I refer to it as my happy sizer. Thank you, Dave, for perfecting the trampoline. It's worth every penny. Sign me, Happy Robin. Happy Robin. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Myrna writes, I love my Cellerciser. I have so much fun on it, and I can see results already. Thanks, Dave, for all the info you give us. Thank you so much, Mr. Dave, for sharing all your knowledge to all of us. And she has some beautiful little symbols there. Myrna, thank you for sharing. All of us know somebody who's struggling with weight issues. Cellercise can harness the biggest muscles in the body in a way you can't with typical aerobic activities. And when you do high intensity interval training, which is exactly what the Jamba run is, you're going to be eating up glucose and sugars, increasing metabolism, and burning weight. You can do repetitions of it. You know, we've got in the Mr. Rebounder app, we have the Fat Eradicator 1. My daughter does it all the time. She doesn't need it, but she does it. And she's in excellent shape and extremely strong and extremely healthy. We have the Fat Eradicator 2. We've got the weight loss. We've got muscle building. We've got the How to Wake Up in the Morning app, which is just, if you don't have a lot of time, excuse me, if you don't have a lot of time, but you want to get the body going, that's a great movement that will do it. We've got a movement for getting ready to go to sleep at night. It helps get rid of the stress and the tension in the body so the body can relax. That's also on the Mr. Rebounder app. Okay, questions. John, with arthritic knees, do you recommend the twist or the side to side? John, I recommend anything that can strengthen the supporting muscles and ligaments around the joint so that when you have better support, we retain more fluid, and very often those issues can improve. But if it's a medical question, I'm obligated to say consult with your doctor or health practitioner, but I will address it from this perspective. When you get on the Cellerciser and we gently move up and down, we're warming up the tissue throughout the entire body. Then as we bend at the knee slightly and push down into the mat, we are absolutely working the supporting muscles and ligaments all through the front part of the knee. As we rock side to side, we're working the hips, the thighs, and again, the lateral knee, both sides of the knee. So we're working the front part of the knee, doing the Jamba walk. We're doing the lateral knee, just gently rocking side to side. They're less jarring here than just walking on the ground. As you continue to improve, then of course you can do the ski patrol or can get ready for skiing for the season, and that's all going to strengthen the supporting muscles, ligaments around the knees. Okay, is there any exercise that addresses snoring? Just move up and down. Moving up and down helps to strengthen. We've heard reports from people where it has helped them. And we have a palate in our upper mouth that as it falls, and it can cause snoring, and the movement up and down helps to strengthen all the cells so they can become more resistant. So you just have to almost try it. Yes, Justice?
Eileen writes, one of my legs cracked off. How can it be fixed?
A leg on the Cellerciser?
Yes.
She can order a new leg. The only way a leg on a Cellerciser will crack is if you're using the balance bar. Instead of, for balance, you're bending back and putting too much weight on it. And then at the top of the leg, that leverage could potentially split the seam of the leg. It rarely ever happens, but you feel free to call my office. And when you're doing it, just hold on to it. And if you turn to the side, you're not going to be putting a lot of leveraged weight. And it's really hard to do that, though. Okay, Kay says, is it good for mild heart disease to Cellercise? Check with your doctor and health practitioner. One thing it does do is it makes it easier on the heart to pump. It's pumping circulation with the heart. It can strengthen the heart and all the collateral muscles surrounding it, but it's pumping with it. It helps to break up sticky blood cells so they can circulate more effectively through the body. So there are a lot of great benefits, but again, I don't know your situation, so consult with your doctor. Kay writes, what exercises can I do for a pinched nerve in my right leg? Well, if it's a sciatic, opening up that whole area can be helpful. So again, gentle bouncing to begin with. Rocking side to side can help drop the hips into the mat, loosen up all the muscles and strengthen the supporting muscles here. Then doing the gentle twist, you can do it at the waist and it helps to loosen up the back. And then keeping the hips straight ahead and gently twisting directly in the hip socket area as you're moving up and down. That gentle bounce helps to loosen up, increase circulation, and it can often help relieve that issue. Oh boy, Ann says, how soon after hysterectomy I had uterine cancer would I be able to do the health bounce? I'm almost 8 weeks out of surgery. They got all the cancer, thank God. Absolutely. Ann, if you get the clearance from your doctor so that you can get the movements, but sitting down on the Cellerciser and helping to support the lower abdominals with your hands while you get started can be very helpful. And then as you become stronger, see, this is very gentle, but just by tilting, if you take your hand and feel how tight those muscles are, you're working the entire wall from the inside out. It's not just like a sit-up. You're moving up and down. All the internal organs are having to firm up because it's weight bearing. And then eventually, of course, you can do the other techniques where you're lifting the legs up and down. Okay. Yes, Justice. Did you raise your hand?
Oh, no, we're good.
Oh, we're good. Okay.
Angelia just said the Cellerciser is our baby.
Thank you, Angelia. I appreciate it. She said the Cellerciser is our baby. Samantha says, also, what exercise is good for the lower abs? The one I was just doing, phenomenal for the lower abs, but so is this one. If you want to work the lower abs, we want to put weight to strengthen it. If you're doing the jog and you tilt slightly, every time you lift your leg up, these muscles are working. You're at an angle, so you can't do that on a treadmill or the ground, but you can on a Cellerciser because you don't have the jar on the back. But by altering the angle of the body from underneath your chin all the way down, your body has to resist the increase of weight. And that's leverage. And then from there you can do some of the more advanced movements eventually as you build it up, and that's kicking out like this. And then maybe if we can talk Liberty into showing you one of the ones that she does in a moment for the lower abs, and she's good at that too. All right, can this be bought in Ireland? It can't be bought in Ireland, but it can be bought and shipped to Ireland. We do pass on our discounted shipping rates. Wandra Wandra says, hi Dave, I live in Texas with 8 months of extreme heat. Will my Cellerciser hold up? We live up in the high mountains of Utah, and I've had one outside in the sun and the rain and the snow for, geez, it's over 18 years now. Almost 19 years, probably close to 19 years, and it's fine. The stitching, I'll admit, I looked at it, the stitching around the outside is getting a little weak. So after 19 years out in the sun, the rain, the snow, literally, right kids? Still out there? Right. Yeah, okay. And we still use it. It's holding up. Jennifer says, how will this, oh yeah, okay, that was, how will the Cellerciser hold up outside with the element of rust? We live near the ocean. Everything rusts here. And Jennifer, this Cellerciser will probably rust there also because there's salt in the air, and salt is corrosive. So if you hose it off occasionally, that's going to help it a lot. Now that being said, I saw a Cellerciser that you would never recognize that was down at the beach and was still being used, and it had corrosion everywhere, all over it, but it still worked. so it, they're built like a tank. Yes, Justice.
Anne says, maybe I should ask Dave that, will the Jamba run help with blood sugar control, diabetes?
Yeah. Yeah, the exercise on this Cellerciser has been known. In fact, we have a website. We haven't given a lot of attention to it, but it is up there with people that have diabetes and what their experience has been with their blood sugar levels on the Cellerciser. And you can find that website under Cellerciser Diabetes Help, HELP.com. Kelly writes, do you have workouts that are longer somewhere else besides YouTube and the app? Not really, but on the app, you can create a routine as long as you want. I mean, you can literally clone a routine. You can add more movements to the routine. You can create your own. So you're not limited on the app as far as time. Linda writes, question, when traveling with my trifold, I sometimes find a few springs have slipped out of position, almost unhooked. What's the best way to prevent this when folding the unit? I do love my Cellerciser. And that's common with the trifold, Linda. But they break in, after they break in, they stop doing that. But initially, when everything's a little sticky still and new and just still smoothing itself out, as you're opening up a trifold, you can notice one of the springs is not seated properly because there's no pressure on it when it's all folded up. So as you're unfolding it and you see one of the springs is a little kinked, just reach behind it with your hand, give it a little tug, and it'll just snap back in place. If you don't do that, when you jump on the Cellerciser, you'll hear a pop, 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 and they're all seating themselves anyway. But I like to just give them a little tug. Do you put something under it while you oil it? I usually do it outside. So if you're on the grass or the lawn, you don't need to, but yes, if otherwise you may need to. Tammy writes, can you recommend any other movements that will work the triceps beside the hands behind the back and moving up and down? I have a cyst on my wrist and it's difficult for me to hold my wrist in that position. Also, any updates on apparel, t-shirts, sweatshirts, etc. I love my Cellerciser and would love to have some t-shirts to wear. And yes, we started working with someone a few months ago and we got a little busy and kind of dropped the ball on that. So there's a few things. We've got other products and things we want to introduce this next year. So bear with us. We intend to get that up and running too. But as far as the triceps, the Cellerciser in and of itself is weight bearing. So muscles will get stronger just by bouncing because they're all made up of cells. And as you apply weight to the cell membrane, the cell responds by fortifying its membrane. But if you do the pulling out, you can pull out for the shoulders and the back of the triceps as well. And that will tighten the tone while you're bouncing. And then you can do the chest by pushing in. But that might be helpful for you. Okay, Elisa writes, Dave, if you would be willing, please mention how great the Cellerciser is for post-surgery hysterectomy, Parkinson's disease, osteoporosis, sciatica, fibromyalgia, circulation to the fingers, weight loss, aging, vertigo, PCOS. Not sure what that is. and general fitness and well-being. I have been talking to many people about Cellerciser lately, and all these are some ailments that people have, and I've answered many of those in our previous programs, but to go through them all right now, it's weight bearing for bones, it's circulation for stimulating circulation, it pumps the lymphatic system, which is critical. It's got 75 trillion cells flexing over 100 times a minute for weight loss instead of just a few muscle groups. As far as aging, it's been called the closest thing to the fountain of youth yet devised by man. Hardening of the arteries, one of the number one degenerative disease. We move up and down on the Cellerciser. We help to break up sticky blood cells to increase circulation so we can mitigate, prevent, and possibly even reverse the number one degenerative disease, which is hardening of the arteries. Vertigo, I've not known anybody who after a month of Cellercising daily didn't experience tremendous relief from the symptoms of vertigo. So if you're one of those that hasn't, let me know. But most people, the moving up and down is challenging their vestibular balance and brain activity dramatically. Okay, and fibromyalgia, we've got some great customer reviews on that. Circulation to the fingers, movement up and down is increasing circulation, and then you wiggle your fingers in a downward position and then wiggle them in an upward position. And we've got Ivo Perlman, who's a professional saxophone player, is one of our customers, and he notices the results through those movements as well. As we have guitarists that are doing the same thing. But the bottom line for all of us is when our cells are stronger, healthier, and working more efficiently, our body parts are going to be stronger, healthier, and working more efficiently too. So cells don't get old the way we think. I mean, they're always replacing themselves. We can strengthen and improve the efficiency of our cells at any age. Yes, Justice?
I don't know if this is a question, but I'm kind of confused. Fred says Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Give me one moment. Let's see. What is it?
I don't know who said that.
Oh, polycystic ovary syndrome. Okay, that's what you're talking about. Okay. There's a technique for men and women that I think is really, really helpful. Starting off gently moving up and down is really important to increase that circulation and to loosen up the body. And I say the same thing with any sports or athletic activity we want to do. It is best to get on the Cellerciser and gently move up to warm up the tissue before you do any stretching or before you do any strenuous activity. But this gentle movement side to side, it's got a pumping action. If you move your shoulders a little bit, it may look a little weird, but I'll take it, because what it's doing is it's opening up all the vertebral joints, it's loosening up the hips, the internal organs are gently moving side to side. As we get better, then we can, instead of just doing it like this, we can cross our legs in front of us. Now that's like a scissor. And as we're doing this scissor movement, and we can do it this way too, as we're doing the scissor movement, we're helping to massage and stimulate circulation to that entire area. Yes, Justice?
John writes, how long do you recommend doing the biceps exercise during a workout to strengthen them, and any other exercises to work on the biceps?
Yeah, the biceps. That's all I do. If you're counting, there's sometimes, well, I just count to 20. It's not the amount of time that matters to a cell. It's how you're challenging the cells within the amount of time. That's how the cells adapt. It's the stress or the challenge to the cells. And so depending on how hard you're doing it is going to make more difference than how long you're doing it. But that, irrespective, yeah, you can count, I'll do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, just like this. And you can count to 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50, and then you switch and do the other arm. And you'll feel it, and it's going to tighten, tone, and build without tearing down. Yes?
Sylvia asks, can Dave show the hand routine going 4 times up and down? Not sure I am doing it right thing.
The hand routine?
Yes.
Oh, okay. as far as the circulation. Okay, we're putting the fingertips straight down. This is the process. We want to gently bounce up and down until we can feel the pressure at the tips of the finger. The moment we can feel the pressure at the tips of the finger, we've got the lymph system sucking and pulling circulation through all the tissue spaces. And then we can move the fingers around. And as we move the fingers around, we just shake them around in this position a little bit. And then we lift them up and shake them around this position a little bit. Our objective is to open up the joints and to increase that circulation and flexibility. That's that process. Okay. Yes.
Elizabeth says, can you show some deltoid exercises that will help a weaned out scapula?
Oh, okay. Some what? What was the beginning?
Deltoid.
Oh, deltoids. Yeah. Okay. So we've got the movement where you take the hands and you grab your elbows from behind. When you grab your elbows from behind and start to bounce up and down, you're really stretching those deltoids, and you're working right in between those shoulder blades, the scapula. Okay, and then when you take your hands and you just reverse them, cross them the other direction, and that's my tighter side, and if you can't get there, just do it this way. But when you get to this area and you can kind of pull a little bit, you just get to the point where you feel the stretch, and then gently move up and down. The movement up and down is going to take the tension, and it's going to start to loosen that tension, increase that circulation. Other movements that we have in the Mr. Rebounder app as well involve just hooking underneath the elbow, pulling this direction, and feeling the stretch, and then bouncing. If you want to know how much that bouncing makes a difference to the cells, take your hands, put them on your deltoids, just squeeze the muscle, and then bounce up and down. That's how much weight and release you're getting on the cell membrane. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Yes, Justice?
Fred asks, my brother has
Parkinson's.
Any research of efficacy studies done on that?
We don't have any research, but I've got a neighbor who's doing the same thing, and he Cellercises and he uses the app, and it's helped him quite a bit. So all we know is that the movement up and down is stimulating brain activity, it's increasing circulation, and it's pumping the lymphatic system. I don't have any studies. We need studies. If there's somebody who's able to do some studies, I'm more than willing to work with them and let them know what we've learned over the last 30 years and what to look for in those studies, because I know there's benefits that we're not even aware of yet. But thank you for the question. Boy, we've got some great questions. I didn't expect that many people be on. That's wonderful. Thank you.
38.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your time. All right. Okay. And it says, okay, some exercises that help with the pelvic floors. And that's the best that I know of is the one where you sit down and you tilt backwards a little bit. And then you just gently move up and down, because you don't just have the vertical movement up and down. You're sitting back, which gives a little bit more support. And then as you're sitting back, you can support your back with your hands until you get to the point where you don't need to support it with your hands anymore. And then little movements like this are really helpful as well. Okay, so Carrie writes, she says, can you show the fish face close up for the face exercise? Okay. All right, this is all right. The way it's done, fish close up, it looks a little weird, but it works. I promise you, I've seen it work with so many people. You smile with the cheeks. Okay, so you're not puckering here, but you're smiling here. And as you smile with these muscles, those muscles are going to hold a position. So it's just a smile with the cheek muscles. Then, once you have that, then you bounce so that the skin and the collagen are flexing around the muscles. And you can notice a difference, most people, within just a week. It's pretty neat.
Fred also asked, is that poster available on your website?
This one, it is. That poster is our exercise chart. It has 10 exercises. Oh gosh, it's got more than that, doesn't it? Okay, I've got 12 here and 12 there. Okay, got 24. I thought there were 20. We've got 12 movements on this side, and we've got 12 movements on the other side. So it's something that you can all use to make reference to. Okay, Karen, I purchased brand new second-hand bifold Cellerciser. You're adopted in the family. That's fantastic. With the original handlebar, and it came with 3 clip-like things that I don't know what to do with. Okay, and I apologize for any confusion in that. There's a welcome letter that comes out with each Cellerciser, and in the welcome letter it says it may come with some extra parts. That's all those are. Those clips are the push pins. They actually fit inside the balance bar, and that allows you to, if one of them were to break, they're hard to find. So I just included some extras, and then you've got a bullhorn sometimes. It's just when we have some extra parts, I say send them to the customers. Yes, Justice.
What about an 11-year-old with short bowel syndrome? Would this be safe for him? He does have a G tube.
Check with your doctor as to what activities and movements that he can do, because it is going to stimulate digestion elimination processes. So it's you'd have to check with the doctor to see if that's a good thing for him. We absorb a lot of our nutrients through the intestines and for our body, and so as it's going through the body, doing little movements like this can help the body absorb nutrients more efficiently. It can help break up a mucous membrane lining that accumulates in the wall, and so that we can absorb nutrients better. It just can help the overall intestinal health. But if you've got an issue like that, check with the doctor, and I'm more than happy to talk to the doctor about different approaches as well. Yes, Justice.
Fred says poster is not on the website. Just check.
It is. Okay, let me show you. And this world has changed so much. It's absolutely amazing. So if I go to Cellercise. All right, so now we'll go to where it says shop. And if we scroll down, it's right there. So that's the exercise chart right there. And it just continues to unfold like that one. So good question. All right, thank you. What are some exercises for carpal tunnel syndrome on Cellerciser? Are there any Cellerciser moves that quickly help move illness out of the body? Example, colds and flus. Yes to that, thank goodness. And I've done it many times over the last 30 plus years. Is if I've been exposed to something or I feel like I'm coming down with something, I will get on that Cellerciser and I will run as fast as I can for up to a minute. So it's just 1, 2, 3, just count to a minute. When I'm done, I will have increased the number of active white blood cells in my body by 10 to 15 times. And that's, we know, is, according to Dr. Arthur C. Guidance Research, medical physiology. So yes, 1 minute for up to 1 hour of your own, I call it your natural antibiotic, your immune system going through. And you can do it every hour, every couple hours to help your body fight off. And I really advocate that because in the world today, taking a reactive approach to illness, it's just not cutting it as well. We need to take a more proactive approach toward health. And we do that. If we can incorporate that movement on a day-to-day basis, we're going to keep our immune system operating at a higher level, which is healthful. Yes, Justice?
Elizabeth says, what exercises can be done to get back to my original height? I'm speaking for senior citizens that are known to shrink in height with age.
And we've got some great customer reviews on that too. And as far as I know, I've always been 5'10" and a half. That's what I was growing up. But after I started Cellercising, I actually increased my height to 5'11" and a quarter. I was measured by 3 doctors and 1 attorney. I didn't believe it. I figured my wife just measured me wrong because she was shorter than I was. But then I ended up having some other people measure me. And then I saw my dad, knocked on his door. He opened the door. He looked at me. He said, "Boy, you look taller." And he looked shorter. And I said, "Really? I can't." And sure enough, increased my height. So imbibing the disc with synovial fluid, helping to open up space between the vertebral joints, helping the back itself, the ligaments and tendons, it takes time to stretch. And there are several things that are occurring as we help to increase the flexibility in the back again, increase circulation to the disc, and several movements that we can do that helps to promote that. And I'll show you just a few of them. And again, they're on the Mr. Rebounder app, but just gently moving up and down to warm up the tissue, rocking side to loosen up the back and the vertebral joints, doing the gentle twists, and you can lift your arms up and down, opening up the vertebral joints by lifting the elbow up, leaning to the left. It opens up the back. You get to the point where you feel some tension, gently move up and down. You can take the right leg and cross it in front of the left leg. And now you're working the lower back. When you do the same thing this direction, just get to the point where you feel some tension, stop, hold the position, gently bounce, cross the leg in front. Now you're working again the lower back. And again, that I pretty much always end up with the gentle twist. And those are some really good movements. Now, taking the shoulders, if you're hunched over some, taking those shoulders and tilting them back. You just lift the chest up and move the shoulders back, and then bounce in this position. It causes the muscles to flex around that alignment. So it helps to lift the whole back up, which is a great benefit for Cellercise as we're doing. So yes, holding position and proper position while bouncing does definitely make a difference. So that's great.
Shauna says, best movements for hip flexors. I have limited range of motion.
Yeah, okay. So the hip flexors, again, start off gently moving up and down, rocking side to side, doing the twist, and then crossing in front. And as we cross in front, we lift this shoulder up. And it just stretches everything through this whole area. And it looks like this when you're doing it. And many of us have done this already. But this is a great technique. These are no-nonsense moves that work. And I am so grateful for them.
Samantha says, if you are just bouncing and not doing the facelift, will it cause your face to sag?
No. So the gravity will cause the face to sag. When you put more weight, you're not jarring, you're not tearing protein fibers. When you put more weight on a muscle, what does it do? It gets stronger. It becomes more resistant to the weight. You know what's interesting, and I've shared this before, is when Senator John Glenn went up into outer space, and he was up there for, I don't know how many days he was up there, but when he came back down and he got in front of the press, his skin, compared to what it was before, was significantly more drooped because he had lost the protein in weightlessness. The cells don't perceive the need for it, and so it goes right out the body. But within a week, 2 weeks, you see him again, and you can see the difference in his face. And I noticed that because I knew what to look for. Well, it's the same thing with us. As we're moving up and down, we're putting weight on the collagen. Those are protein fibers. As we put weight on them over and over and over, they become more resistant to the weight. They don't want to rupture. So the cell membrane gets stronger and more flexible all at the same time, which is unique to Cellercise as well. And so it's all weight bearing, but also increasing flexibility. So the cells, collagen, the fascia, the skin, all those protein fibers begin to become more resistant to that weight. Yes, Justice?
Do you have to tighten your face when you regular bouts?
You don't need to, but when I think about it, I prefer to do a little bit of it. But when you're tilting a little bit, it's automatically, I mean, it's got weight on it. So the body, it's got to be, it has no, that's the whole idea behind weight-bearing exercises, whether it's weightlifting, which limits the effect only to the muscle doing the lifting, or whether it's weight-bearing, which is on the entire body. The cells of our body don't know the difference. There's weight, so they respond by fortifying their membrane with more protein. They don't want to rupture. And so that's going on throughout the entire body. Carrie writes, as someone that's never used a rebounder, how would you explain how to use a Cellerciser? Specifics such as bent knees, pushing with toes, heels, whole foot, etc. And those are great questions. I'll give you a synopsis of it, and then we'll go into more detail next year. But just standing straight-legged to begin with, okay? This is a great approach. Lift the heels up and down. As you're lifting the heels up and down, you're pumping the calf muscle. You're working the arches of the foot. You're working the ankles of the foot as well. And that movement up and down has a myriad of benefits as far as vestibular balance and circulation and flexibility. And then if you're doing the Jamba walk to lose weight and strengthen the knees, you just keep the back straight, bend at the knee a little bit, and push down into the mat. But you want to kind of push the knees out some. Don't do this. You want to push them out. And this will strengthen the alignment and the strength of the knees at the same time. It's kind of hard to not do it right on the Cellerciser, other than posture, holding yourself up correctly while you're doing it. Don't torque. Don't jump up and down and do this. Don't do that. You don't need to do that. This is plenty enough. And it's very gentle and extremely effective. So what else do you say? Bent knees, pushing with toes, heels, whole foot. When you're doing the Jamba run, you have your feet on the mat, and you're running almost as fast as you can without lifting your feet up off the mat. You're pushing down into the mat, just like this. Now you can do this if you want to, but you don't need to. This is extremely intense in and of itself, and it'll work. You'll feel it. You'll love it. You'll hate it, but it works. Okay, those are the questions, and wow, thank you. I'm really grateful for the response and for all of you who've been there. I hope I've shared something that you feel comfortable sharing it with other people, because we do. We want to get the word out. The Cellerciser, as you know, is not a typical rebounder. It will not stretch out. That mat material is a space-age material. You know that. When mats stretch, as you know, the feet pronate. And we have people that are landing with their ankles and knees buckling on them over and over, leveraging the weight on the joints, which accumulatively over time, they notice ankle problems, knee problems, hip problems, and back problems. And that was one of the ladies I was talking with today. The Cellerciser gives you resistance to build, and it will not stretch out. It'll support you. You can land on that mat at any angle. And instead of throwing you off, which is what happens when a mat stretches with the springs, it lifts you straight up. And that gives you the support so that you can do these different movements without feeling like it's going to throw you off. The steel in our springs, as you know, first of all, it's patented technology, and the steel is so strong. We literally broke the mold, literally. So we had to create a tungsten steel mold just to be able to produce our springs. But that's why they work. You know, we had somebody who, and I was reading this to one of our family members in New York today, with regards to a gentleman who wrote me a beautiful little little slogan, which I like. He said, because they cost more than the units that are cheaper and that don't perform the same. And he said, buy once, cry once, but smile the rest of your life. And that's what we want it to be. We want it to become one of your best friends for the rest of your life. We're in the holiday season. I'm not going to, oh, yes, Justice.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Fred says, how is your shipping cost determined, the shipping cost, more than the poster / booklet?
Oh, they were supposed to fix that. I apologize. What he's saying is that the booklet, the shipping charges are greater than the cost of the booklet, which is not right. So when I'm done, I'll see if I can get that fixed, but feel free to call tomorrow and I can get that. In fact, everybody who's watching this show tonight, if you buy the exercise chart, I will rebate. So anyone tonight until tomorrow morning, anybody who wants to buy one of those, go ahead and buy it. I will rebate you the cost of shipping. I'll pay for the shipping. Thank you for pointing that out to me.
This is our question, but I thought you'd love to hear it. Linda says, Dave, you always provide value every time I hear you talk. Thank you for your patience and persevering. What
a sweetheart. Oh, thank you. You guys are really, you mean a lot to me too. And I know we've got such a great health potential. I'm just amazed at why more people don't. I mean, it's starting. 30 years ago when I started this is a great story, but I'll save it for another time. I knew at that time that this was going to affect the lives of so many people because it had done that for me. And I never looked to do this as a career. That's another story. I was pushed into it, and I'm so grateful because I know that I've been guided and directed by another force. And I'll give credit to whom credit is due, and that's my Heavenly Father. Because this has been a mission. Getting this information out to the public has been an absolute mission. A mission that people in my past said walk away from because they saw what it was doing to me and what the industry was like. And I couldn't let it go. And we'll talk more about that sometime. But, okay, so we're in the holiday season, and we want to promote peace on earth and goodwill to men. I want to share some thoughts. I've shared some of these previously. I think they're very important that we share today. If you're holding any anger, resentment, contention, fear, anxiety, frustration, depression, let it go. Let it go. Any anger, whether you think it's justified or not, it holds us back. We can't move on when we hold on. I want everybody in the Cellercise family to move on. Justice, go ahead.
Shauna says, was the poster included with the rebounder? Trying to remember if I already have one.
It was in our specials. So we have had specials, like we have one going on right now, where it was included. So if you order it during one of our specials, yes. If you didn't, then no. Okay, I'm going to share something I've shared with you before, but there's a reason I want to share it. Because, like I mentioned, we all have a greater health potential. And we may want to get this message out to the public as well. Because it's the difference between being reactive to that which is wrong versus being proactive to that which is right. And the energy behind the two. I've often said, and you've heard me say it, I've often said in order to have what we have not, we must first become what we are not. As we become what we are not, then what we have not becomes the natural manifestation of the person we've now become. But in order to become what we are not, we must first be able to see ourselves, each other, that which is around us, and that which is within us, not just as we are today, but as we can become tomorrow, which is why I pray that God sees each one of us. The moment we see ourselves not as we are, but as we can become, as a father, as a mother, as a husband, as a wife, as a parent, as a neighbor, as in our work. When we see ourselves not as we are, but as we can become, then we become a person of vision. And that's the key. First step of faith. The ability to see yourself not as you are, but as you can become. Again, in your family and your home, in your financial and your career. You need to see it first to achieve it. And I'll tell you why in a moment. But we have to have the vision. First step of faith. Exercise the vision, see the vision. Hold on to the vision. In our physical and our health. If you're dealing with a health issue today, there's something called physical fitness. Then there's something called mental fitness. Did you know we have to start with baby steps often when we do physical fitness? We have to start with baby steps often when we do mental fitness. It's just that mental fitness is not something that's talked enough about. So we focus on the physical fitness, and then pretty soon we're not doing it anymore. And because we haven't focused on the mental fitness. I want us to focus also on the mental fitness. And our social and cultural, how we see the world today. You make a difference. Every individual makes a difference. You have influence. If you're going to the store and there's somebody who's checking out your food, call them by name. If they have a name tag on, say, "Hi, John," or "Susan, and thank you for the work you're doing." It's not just that it's going to help them. It's going to make a difference to you. And if you can visualize yourself doing these things, being a difference, it's going to make a difference to the people you have a chance to influence, as well as to you as an individual. So when we become a vision, or when we become a person of vision, we hold on to the vision. It grows into a desire. Now, as you nurture the desire, that's the exercise of faith. You nurtured the desire with prayer, affirmation, proclamation, declaration. There's power in the spoken word. You declare it. The desire will and does become a passion. It's a process. The passion compels us to action. The action creates the end result. It's a principle. Where does it all begin? It begins with the vision, how you see yourself today in different areas of your life. Ideas affect the way we think. The way we think affects the way we act. And the way we act to a large degree determines our results. So if we want to take charge of our results, well, let's take charge of the ideas we're allowing ourselves to be exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Because if we don't, then the ideas we are being exposed to take charge of us. And most people, we know this in our culture today, live in a reactive mode. They're constantly allowing the conditions around them to far too often govern the conditions within them. But when you become proactive, when you see the person you can become, you don't allow the conditions that are irrelevant to your objectives, your goals, to have power over you anymore. They're irrelevant. You've got things that are more important. And I want the Cellercise family. I want us to see how we can do that. And one of the principles I've talked about before is the difference between fighting against that which is wrong and promoting that which is right. And many of you have heard me say this because I talk to you on the phone. And if you're dealing with the struggle, whatever it is, it can be an addiction, it can be a relationship, it can be a health issue, whatever it is. If you fight against that which you're dealing with, you're fighting it, you're fighting it, you're fighting it. I'm going to suggest a different way. Because when you fight against that which is wrong, we often become the very thing that we're fighting against. And we deal in frustration, anxiety, and fear, and hostility, and anger, and all these, depression, all these negative energies. I don't want you to do that. When you walk into a dark room and it's dark, and that darkness represents a condition, or a person, or addiction, or health, and you're fighting and you're screaming against the darkness, When you're done fighting, it's still dark. It's still there. It's always going to be there. The difference is in the character of the person you have become in the process of fighting against it. You become all these negative qualities. When you walk into that same dark room and you recognize over here on the wall, there's a light switch. Now for most of us, it's a dimmer switch. When you turn on that light switch and you begin to turn up the light, what happens to the darkness automatically? It begins to leave. As you continue to turn up the light, can now see the obstacles from a whole different perspective that maybe you couldn't see before. And now you have the ability to go around them, over them, under them, through them, to get to the goal, to the objective. So let's bring that home. Let's say you're dealing with obesity. I don't want you to fight against obesity. I want you to love yourself for where you are right now. Because if it wasn't for where you are right now, you couldn't begin the journey to where you want to go next. So we want to embrace where we are. You've heard me say in the past, many of you, you can't find happiness at the end of a journey if you don't bring it with you along the way. So let's bring it with us. So when you walk into that, or when you're dealing with obesity, you are thanking your body and you're seeing your body not as you are, but as you can become. Find an old picture, find something that you like. Remember the vision, it starts with the vision, the desire, the passion, the action. All of this comes as a result of it. So when you see that, you hold on to that vision, and it's not that the conditions around us ever change. We can't control those, not always, but the conditions within us can. So we respond differently to the conditions around us. So we're seeing ourselves not as we are, but as we can become. We're loving ourselves for where we are right now at this point in our life. We're seeing where we want to go. We're focusing on the end result, and we're enjoying the journey to get there. That's the character of the person. I wish for all of you, a person who's positive, goal-driven, enthusiastic, and a visionary who recognizes that they are here to be a difference. And you are. I thank all of you. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year.